What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Art of Suffering podcast with Dalton Darnell. Today, we have a special guest. His name's Michael Klaasen. I do not know this guy from Adam. I was scrolling along on Facebook and came across a guy throwing some of the biggest, nastiest turnovers I have seen on the internet. And so I just reached out and was like, hey, man, you want to come on the podcast and kind of visit about what you do? Respect given where respect's due. I know how hard those shots are to throw and how hard they are to learn. And if I'm not mistaken, you're teaching on there a little bit, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. For sure I am. Yeah, we just started kind of an online deal on Facebook that people can click the subscribe button on our Facebook and just watch that kind of all these, instructional full-length tutorial videos on roping. And when I was getting going, I sure wish I had some guys that I could go back and watch videos. And because, when you're learning to rope, you're trying to throw these shots and you may have some mentors or guys you rope with and you're like, well, shit, what do I do when this happens? Or what do I do when this happens? And, when you don't have something you could scroll back and watch, it's kind of a pain in the butt. So, my wife had nagged me for forever. She's like, you got to do something online. You got to do something online. And, it's kind of the beginning of it. It's not nothing giant right now, but, we put out a new video each week and, try and just give people some good fundamentals and good foundation for roping and, teach some fancy shots too. So it's a fun deal.
Man, that's awesome. How old were you when you started roping and where'd you grow up?
Well, long story short, I'll just give you the background, but my dad had a bunch of mules when I was a kid, and I grew up hunting and fishing my whole life. We used to pack in the high country. We live in Colorado, and we used to elk hunt all the time. My grandpa would come into town, and my dad's side of the family is originally from the Midwest, and
okay,
so my grandpa lived back there in Illinois, and he'd come out and we'd all go elk hunting on the mules. And, I was a little kid at that point. I mean, shit, I think I was riding mules when I was 4 years old, 5 years old, something like that. And, I just like anything in life, I kind of got burnt out on it when I was a kid. My dad wasn't, he's a good horseman, but he wasn't like, the horseman of all horsemen. He didn't, eat, breathe, and sleep it. He just used him to hunt with primarily. But, he was good. He was great at packing, but, we just did it a lot. And, same thing for hunting. I just kind of got burnt out on it when I was a kid and kind of drifted away from it. And then in my early 20s, I got back into it, started roping. And I don't know, I would say I probably really didn't get serious about roping until 6-7 years ago, something like that. And truthfully, in your early 20s, right, at least I was more competitive, right? But I wasn't competitive with other people. I was, we'll get into it, but when I started my business, I never wanted anybody to come here and bring a horse and say, man, could you, teach my horse to rope, or could you do this or whatever. And I always wanted to be the best I possibly could at every aspect of horsemanship and stockmanship. And, it was kind of like a self-drive to kind of be, the overall best, horseman and stockman that I possibly could. So roping wasn't initially something I was super passionate about. It was just because I wanted to be really well-rounded, or the best I could. So
it's a really roping, and we talk about this at every Guapo. It's a really good test of all of your skills.
For sure.
Like if you really don't have something going on with your horse and you pull a rope down, you're going to get yourself in a pickle pretty fast, So it's even if you don't rope a lot, I would say if you are sending your horse to a trainer that is going to rope on them, it's not going to do anything but make them better.
Yeah.
Because it's a whole nother level of intensity and focus from, the rider's perspective of like, man, I need you to be a mobile platform from which I can do work. And I need you to be okay with what's going on. And getting one to that point is a really cool thing, because it's almost like, we're predators and they're prey animals. And when you climb on one and go do a job like that, it's almost like they become predators. Like,
yeah, for sure.
The really good ones.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
pretty cool. So how long have you been training horses? I guess, how old are you now?
So I'm 30.
Okay.
31.
Okay.
31. Yep.
Oh man, we're getting there. I turned 33 tomorrow. And it's
really?
like, my wife's like, "Oh man, you're such an old guy now." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." That's funny because I didn't start roping until I was in my mid-20s.
Yeah. I heard that. So before this podcast, I told you I followed you guys for, I don't know, several years now. And shit, you compliment me on my roping. One of the things that pushes me, I hate to say that you compare yourself on social media or Facebook or whatever, but everybody does, right?
Oh, I mean, 100%.
People are going to say, oh, well, social media, it's just for businesses to advertise and whatever. And that's totally what I use it for. But man, when I'm seeing you guys throw these wild freaking shots, 30, 40 foot hula hands, throwing turnovers that just like stop in midair, I'm like, gosh, I got to get better at this, And
it's freaking fun, dude. That's why we started. We started because we didn't have nothing to watch. There wasn't anything out there, dude. Like circa 2016, nothing existed. I got on the internet looking for it because I wanted to get better at it, and it didn't exist. So I mean, that's why when I see people like you, because here's the thing, man. Everybody always says, they're like, oh, I don't have time to wear a camera and blah, blah. I'm like, shut up, dude. We've all worked all over the place. You can put a camera on, but it just putting yourself out there like that and being willing to help other people along the trail. It's commendable, dude. It's hard. It's harder than the normal job. But it's a commendable thing to do. You know what I'm saying?
No, I appreciate it. I mean, you guys do the same thing, and it's, I don't know, it's just one of those things that, it's just like making a good horse, just like making bridle horses that, you're never there, and it's just such a journey. And, when I was first getting going with my business, I mean, I would dream about it every single night. I mean, seriously, could not think about anything else. I'm like, how can I grow this? How can I make better horses? How can I do, X, Y, and Z? And I've always been the type of person. So like, I never had I'll take that back. I've had one or two really, really good mentors for horsemanship or roping in my life. The guy's name's Jim Becca, and he's a farrier full time. He's done it for like 30 years or something like that. And he taught me a lot about horsemanship when I was first getting started. So when I made the leap about 6 years ago to do just this, no other jobs, nothing, and kind of made the full commitment that I was going to do this. He was super supportive, but he taught me a lot. He taught me that. And to digress a little bit, a lot of people nowadays think that being a good horseman is being really good with working with horses. And I guess that's true to some degree, but there's a lot more to it, right? Being a good horseman is, can you shoe a horse? Can you trim your own horse? Do you know how to float a horse's teeth? Do you know all the anatomical structures in a horse's body? Do you know, right? All of this goes into the animal that we ask to do everything that we could possibly need them to do. And then also, are our skills up to the par of what we're asking our animal to do, right? Because, man, when you're riding a good horse and you're missing shit every time, you're like, shit, I'm not worthy of this animal. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%.
I feel bad when my horse is doing their job and I'm not. But, so I had a really, he was probably the primary mentor in my life. And, I would say that learning all that stuff about horsemanship, like I see on your guys' channel that, or the stuff you post that, I think it's Abby and your dad that shaws the horses, or do you do it too? Yeah.
I did when we were in Wyoming, because you have to out there. But right now, I'm in Alabama, and that's where the rope shop is located. And my string of horses is the retired string. So I don't ride them or not. They're just pasture ornaments pretty much. I'm kind of working on getting a preconditioning deal going here. And quite honestly, I probably won't ever shoe horses again if I don't have to.
Yeah, for sure.
I freaking hate shoeing horses. I can, and they come off a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not very good at it at all. But Dad and Abby are pretty handy with it. They like shoeing, but I don't. Oh man, God, I hate shoeing.
I for some reason, everything that is, and you can just say a cowboy skill set, right? Because that's really what it is. Being a true cowboy, in my eyes, is being a true horseman, right? And having all of those skills is something that keeps me up at night, right? Because again, I never want to, and I don't mean to sound like I need to be the best at everything, but I want to be the best I possibly can at everything, right?
100%.
I don't need to be better than other people. I just need to be the best possible me that I can. And, that totally keeps me up. I almost love trimming a horse and shoeing a horse as much as I do riding, schooling horses, and roping. It is, to me, it's all one thing, right?
Well, there's an authenticity factor to this job that isn't spoken about very much unless you find yourself around a bunch of authentic people. And that was kind of our core mission when we started 310. It was like, or one of them, I guess we wanted to portray that we do the job. And then it's more about the horses. It's more about the other people that do the job. It might be us roping, but the skill set in and of itself, we wanted that to go forward, right? That's why we didn't name the company Dalton Darnell Ropes, right? We named it 310 because the whole idea behind it is that there's people with this skill set that go out and do this job. And like, quite frankly, when we got hired on at that lease in Wyoming, we learned to shoe before we went because we knew we needed that piece. Like, you got to have your horses shod. So it's one of those things where I completely understand what you're saying, because the cowboy world can smell a rat from like a mile away.
Yeah.
Like, if you're full of shit, they know. Yeah, they absolutely know. Yep. And so that's important to all of us, right? That's important to all of us. There's kind of this level of imposter syndrome that'll kind of creep in on you if you don't know.
Yeah, I was about to say the exact same thing. Yeah,
it's real. It eats me. I did I think the episode that posted today was me talking about imposter syndrome with this freaking podcast, because I was like, man, the enemy just comes in and starts wearing you out about like, who gave you the right to sit here and talk about Jesus in front of these people? You're a pile of garbage. And that's not what it's about. You know what I mean? Like, it is about, it's about showcasing the struggle of life so that another fella can go, man, somebody else is having a hard time. Like, thank God. It's the same thing that people say when I show miss videos. They're like, thank you so much for showing the miss video. I'm like, dude, I have so much more miss video than I have catch video. It's not even funny. You know what I mean? But it's how you portray yourself, What did you do before you were a full-time horse trainer?
So I had several jobs, but I actually sold insurance for a while.
Oh, very good. Hey, nothing like a good town job, baby. That's awesome.
Honestly, I always told my wife, I said, I'll do whatever we have to do to pay the bills no matter what. If I got to go work at freaking McDonald's, I'll go work at McDonald's. You know what I mean?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, it's, there's something to be said about, I've been very fortunate. I had, good family when I was growing up. My parents split up when I was super young, but they were great parents. So I had a good upbringing, but, I always felt like in my adult life that I always had my back up against a wall, right? I always felt like if I fell, I was screwed, right? Yeah. And I'm sure if I did, my parents would have helped or saved me somehow or done something, right? Just family would have been family, but I just never wanted to lean on anything. And I've always grown up. I always felt like my back was against a wall, that I just had to fight for whatever we wanted. And, I don't know. I think that translates to everything I do in life, right? I always feel like it's kind of like a make it or die mentality with me. I'm very patient. I take my time with everything I do. I try and do everything right the first time. Obviously, we all make mistakes, but definitely something I strive for. But I will say that it's just always been something in me that, I want to give everything I possibly can and die trying, because I'm not gonna like give up halfway or half-ass anything. So yeah, with the work thing, my wife thought I was crazy when I started this full time. When I said I was quitting my job and doing this, and because I had been training horses part time, and when I told my wife, I'm like, I'm just gonna do this, right? She thought I was crazy. I mean, she was super supportive, but she's like, seriously, you're making good money. You should not leave this.
Yeah. No, I've had very similar conversations.
Yeah, I've my wife and I have been together. So I'm 31. We've been together since I was 17, and she is, as much me as anything. She knows me probably better than I know me. Truly, if I don't know if anybody listening to this has ever done like couples therapy or anything. I haven't personally, but you always see in movies, right? Or you hear people talk about it. They're like, oh, you can't be codependent on your spouse, right? You guys gotta be great on your own and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, it's true. You gotta be like a strong individual, but my spouse is there because she's my partner, and I'm there because I'm her partner. I don't want to live this life without her. I live for my wife and my kids, and it's just that's what life is to me. It's not like I'm happy by myself and need to go do everything by myself. It's like, yeah, we have our own lives, but at the end of the day, you're meant to need your partner. You're not meant to be different about them.
No, 100%, dude. I'm the same way. So like, codependent's a great word, and that might have some negative connotation.
Yeah.
Don't care. I don't care at all. Because that's how I am. And when, when me and my wife got married, she got to where she wanted to have kids, and I was praying about it real hard, and my wife was not a big prayer, not big into praying. And my granddad told me one time, he was like, hey, the day you got married, you became one. If you're praying by yourself, God ain't, you got to get with your wife and get after it.
Yeah.
And the first time I ever prayed with her, we prayed for our son, and she was pregnant 30 days later. So like since then, man, I've gone on this journey of, husbandry and fatherhood. And there was this just huge weight that started sitting on me when all of these people were relying on me. And like you were talking about, I'd go work at McDonald's if I had to. Like the first ranch I ever worked for, we were preconditioning a bunch of yearlings, which down here is a bunch of yearlings on a very small place, but you kind of did everything, like you pulled wire, you put out hay, you fixed water troughs, the whole nine. And so in order to pay for our honeymoon, I bartended Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights.
There you go.
After working at that ranch. And the last 3 years of my life, I've pretty much bartended in the evenings. I was able to quit in November so she could stay home with the kids.
Good for you.
Which my wife's a registered nurse, so now she started her own business selling them shirts and stuff.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is, it's insane. Yeah. So my wife makes more money than I do. It's ridiculous. And she stays home with the babies. But the fact is I think, kind of my rule of thumb for being a husband is my goal is to outwork my wife by 10 times.
Yeah.
In order to provide. And it sounds like you're the same. It's like you want to offer this life for your children and for your wife and for her to be able to spend time with them. And for anybody listening who isn't married yet or has just got married, it's going to take every ounce you got.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
All of you. It's a good deal. Marriage is the best thing that ever happened to me, dude. Like, honestly,
sure.
like it's freaking awesome.
Okay,
so let's talk about the kids a little bit. So you said you had 2 kids?
Yeah, 2 kids. So real quick, Dalton, before we move on, what I'll tell you, that line you just said was really good, right? You want to outwork your wife, 10 times. But I'll tell you, here's my take on that. I want to outwork my wife by 10 times, but I want my wife to outwork everybody else 100 times, right?
Yes.
That's one thing I will say is that I want, I didn't, and this may sound kind of odd, but I don't sign up to just take care of my wife, right? As much as I am going to take care of my wife and want to and will, I want my wife to be a badass. I want her to be tough as nails, outwork everybody she knows and be respected by everyone she knows and be respected by her kids. Because one thing that I think can be dangerous is, women can be, and this is kind of an off-topic deal, but women can kind of be fall into this stigma, I think, with a lot of men as being seen as like no value, right? Like what do you do, right? And for me, you don't have to you don't have to go work, you don't have to do whatever. Even though my wife does, but adding value isn't always financial. It isn't always right, doing something physically. Adding value is just, maybe being a great mom or being a great spouse or, when, like I told you, I was in the skid this morning all day and, we're doing a few roads with a friend of mine that's helping. And long story short, my wife was, cutting down trees and hauling brush and doing all this stuff. And, all my kids are running around and helping. And, that's what it is to me. I don't want the wife that stays in the house and, can't do nothing. No offense to anybody's wife who does that. There's nothing wrong with it. But for me, I like to have a partner and I like for us to be the toughest suckers out there,
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I completely agree.
But yeah, two kids. My son is about 6 months, and our daughter is 2.5.
Oh, buddy, you're right you're right in it, dude. That 6 month stage that's a good time. That is brutal. Congratulations. Is the little man sleeping yet through the night?
He was sleeping really good. Everybody in the house got sick. My wife will be pissed when she listens to this because she doesn't like anybody to know that she can get sick. So we've been together, oh my gosh. What is that? 14, 15 years, something like that. And she has gotten sick once in that whole time that I've known her.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm talking cold, flu, whatever, once in the time that I've known her, and the sickness was malaria.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's it. That's the only
Holy
sickness.
crap.
Yeah. So my wife's from England. Long story short, we don't need to go down this road. We met in Africa. I was volunteering, teaching music, English, and she was volunteering at a veterinary animal hospital. She was castrating like shit. 50, 60 dogs a day, stray dogs, just freaking pulling them over on the side of the road and cutting their mitts off. But long story short, we met in Africa and we both got malaria.
What the heck?
Yeah, but this is a long story, so we don't need to go down this. But we both got malaria, and that's the only time I've ever seen her sick up until I think probably this last week. And we all got something. My son, Sterling is his name. He's was sleeping really good. He's been a really easy baby. He got sick this last week, and I swear, my wife, I'm lucky, right? I mean, I can sleep through it. If she needs anything, I'm available, but there's just not a ton I can do.
You're going to have to wake me up. You're going to have to wake me up, old son. I'm not kidding. Yeah, I'm the same way.
So my son, I swear, probably, if you ask my wife, and she's pretty honest about it, I would say he hasn't slept consecutively more than an hour in the past 5 or 6 days.
Dude.
So, yeah, it's been rough, but it's all good. It's part of it. A lot of people talk about, they're like, oh, kids are hard, and they totally are hard at this age, right? But your wife is the one taking the brunt of it, I think.
Oh, dude. Oh, I'm not kidding. So I call the first year write off. Nope. We just get to one. It's, I'll help wherever I can, but there's no expectations on my wife at all year one. It's like, nope.
For sure.
You do whatever you feel like you need to do. And I'm just here as a supporting role, because it's a freaking grind, man. That first year, I've told this story in other episodes, but a friend of mine, Richard Boatwright, told me before we had kids, he asked me if we were going to have kids. And I was like, yeah, man, we're thinking about it, and he was like, it's not worth the fleeting moments of happiness after they get here, which he was in the throes of kind of what the little kid stage, you know what I mean? And I called that guy, I called him 6 months after my son was born. Of course, my wife was pregnant like a month later. I call him 6 months after he was born, and I was like, no one has ever been that honest with me, dude. Like, this here is a grind, man. This is crazy. Because my son was in the NICU, and I was cowboying, dude. I was making like $300 a week. Mm-hmm. And it's just right at the conception of 310. Well, 310 had been going for about a year and a half, maybe. But we weren't making any money. Like, you couldn't pay anybody anything. And so when he came out of the NICU, I quit my job cowboying to stay home with him because my wife made all the money.
Yeah.
I was an airplane mechanic for the Air Force before I went back to cowboying. And I was making like $30 an hour. And I told Kara, I was like, man, I hate doing this. Like, can I just go back to cowboying? And she was like, yeah, I mean, I make enough money, whatever, who cares? Yeah. And so, but after he was born, I was like, dude, I'm not going to go work daylight to dark 7 days a week and never see my kid and give my money to some girl to raise him, because I want to go work. Yeah. And so I stayed home with that sucker. Boy, we both struggled through that deal. He's got some spots in him, buddy. I'm telling you, he didn't have a good colt starter, that's for sure, because I grinded through that. But he's good now. He's 6 now, killing it. He's freaking awesome, man. He can take him anywhere. He's fun.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2. I have Wiley, he's 6, and then Waylon is a little over 2, so almost like 2 1/4, somewhere in there. And they're freaking awesome. So they told us, we tried for years, after Wiley turned 2, we tried for 2 years to have Waylon, and about a year and a half in, we went to the doctor, and the doctor told Kara to get a hysterectomy. He's like, you'll never have kids again. Like, wow. And so we just kind of mourned it, and prayed about it and started going to the gym real hard and, enjoying life. And, she ended up being pregnant. The day we moved to Wyoming, she found out she was pregnant. It was wild. So, yeah, man, the kids are the best thing ever. And when they're like 6 is so fun, man. 5 and 6. I'm so
excited for that. Yeah.
It is a good time.
I was going to ask you about that because I obviously haven't experienced that, but I'll tell you, 2.5 right now is I'm loving it. My daughter does everything with us. My wife loves chicken. Her mom in England used to have like 300 or 400 chickens, something like that. So she grew up
Lord.
And her mom's a hillbilly. She's the sweetest lady ever. We love her. But she had all these random freaking animals and lived on a few acres of land in England. But for England, that's a big place. It's a tiny little island, so populated. But yeah, she had all these chickens. So my wife, when she met me, she's like, I'm going to get chickens, right? And I'm like, okay. And, she's got way too many chickens, but my daughter and her go out every morning, get the eggs. She cleans stalls with me. She works with me. You said it, there's nothing better. There really, really is not. And you're never going to understand it until you have kids because, people used to tell me, they're like, you have no idea, right? There's so much more to it. You have no idea. You wait till you have kids. I'm like, sure, whatever. But, until you have it, sitting on the couch watching a movie you never thought would be the best thing in your life,
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%. I always tell people, I don't think I truly understood what God did for me until I had a son. Because if you think I'm going to hang my kid on a cross for you, you've lost your mind.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so when it came to like, when I started looking at it from that perspective of like, dude, this guy hung his kid on a cross for me. No chance. I wouldn't do it for my mom. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't hang Wiley on a cross for my mother, you know? So that it really changes your whole outlook on life and how you want, and us being able to stay home with the kids and love on them in that way and really raise them the way that we wanted to, really, as soon as he was born, became our entire priority. Like what you're talking about, you know, you're out building a road and they're just out there playing. They don't know they're working, and they're working. They're making a hand, you know. But they're doing life with you. You know what I mean? And that's anybody listening that has kids on the way, figure it out. Do whatever you have to do to spend as much time, like give the money away. Don't take the money. Don't take the extra money if it means you're not going to be able to spend time with them, because it's worth it. It's worth every penny I haven't made because of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you, I was talking, so I've got some kids that intern for me, and I was telling one of them the other day, I said, you know, this lifestyle, whether you're a farmer, rancher, horseman, whatever you want to call it, if you're making your money in kind of the livestock industry, or even just working outside, whatever that is, right? I mean, if you do dirt work for a living, if you're, you know, whatever, if you're building fence for a living, you know, if you kind of make your own hours, if you're doing something that you know, you kind of enjoy, if you're running your own deal, you know, I told my intern, I said, you're faced with two choices, right? Someone comes to you and they say, you can work for, you know, 50 years, right? Bust your ass, work hard, save a lot of money, work 5 days a week, and then retire when you're 65, something like that, right? Mm-hmm. Or you can work every single day for the rest of your life, but do something that you love, right? Mm-hmm. And barely make enough money to put food on the table and pay the bills.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Those are the two choices you're faced with, right? And mind you, the first one, you have a retirement, right? You get to go on vacations, have more luxuries, right? Whatever. And I said, you got to be crazy to take the second one, but I sure as hell will take the second one every single time, because you get to spend every single moment of every day with the people you want to, the animals you want to, right? You know, my daughter gets to share every moment with me. I mean, I told my wife years ago, I said, I'm so happy I made this jump when we were expecting our daughter, because I'll be able to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner with you guys every day, right? I'm not going to be gone doing whatever, right? And that's something to me, when I was a kid, like I said, I had great parents. But when I was a kid, you know, we didn't have family dinners. We didn't, you know, do the typical stuff, right? And, you know, TV is a weird influence. But to me, I would watch TV when I was a kid, and I'm like, man, all these families have dinners, right?
Yeah.
But for some reason, when I became an adult, I just wanted it so bad, right? So when I met Danny, my wife, I was like, well, you know, we're going to sit down and have lunch when we bought our first home, right? We're going to sit down and have dinner, and we're going to do all this stuff. And to me, it's very special that we get to do that. Mind you, at my grandmother's table. So when she passed away, it was handed down to my dad, and then my dad handed it down to me. And, you know, it's just kind of cool that, you know, it's like, it's kind of like our family table, and we're finally using it with my family. So not to be too nostalgic about it, but yeah, I definitely love sharing, you know, every day, every moment. And it's definitely worth, right, the money that you sacrifice to do that.
Oh, no question, dude. Like, money doesn't matter. It's like, and the older I get, the more I'm like, I don't care. Can we eat? Okay, whatever, you know? And I've always done what needed to be done to eat. Sure, you have to do that. And in Proverbs, it says, if you don't work, you don't eat. You got to work. But that's the beauty of where we live and what we do, is we get to choose what work that is. Yeah. We get to choose that. And if you can make a path for yourself or get around people who are open-minded, I think that's a big thing is, you know, I'm surrounded by people now, like my friends and colleagues and stuff who you can't call these guys and tell them a crazy enough idea. They just go to figuring out how to make it work. They're like, oh yeah, dude, we could totally do that. Yeah, it'll take a lot of work, but let's figure it out, you know? And if you're around people like that, if you're not around people like that, get around people like that. Yeah. Guys who don't know what no means. They're like, well, if all it's going to take is some work. Well, sweat equity is the best kind because it doesn't cost anything. For sure it is.
Yeah, for sure it is. Yeah, you know, one thing when I started this full time, you know, I've always had lots of different groups of friends, and when I started my business and started doing it full time, I kind of had this epiphany that I didn't enjoy being around some of the people that I had been around in the past. And I don't mean that like negatively towards anybody. You know, I have tons of great friends, right? No matter what they do for a living. But for me, I most enjoy being around people who are passionate about growing their business, right? Who understand that I don't just get a paycheck every 2 weeks and clock in from 9 to 5, right? And then I be on the weekends, right? I'm not really interested in hanging out with a lot of people that do that. I'm interested in being around people who, when we sit down at dinner or have lunch or whatever, they're like, man, what do you think about this? I'm thinking about doing this in my business, or thinking about going this direction, or you know what I mean? Because money is a lot easier to make than people think it is, right? And I don't mean truly easy. It's very hard, right? You got to work your ass off. But you don't just go to work and get paid. Like there's a stigma for when you go to college. And mind you, I graduated college. But people think you go to college and I graduate and, oh, pass me my $100,000 a year, please. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like,
no.
What skill do you have? Like, I think about this every day. I tell my interns, I'm like, what, in a nice way, what skill do you have that you can offer me that makes my life easier and allows me to make more money, right? Think about what skill do you have that you can bring to the table. And I think people go, right, you go to college, nothing wrong with it, but a lot of people graduate and they're like, well, I'm ready to get paid. I'm very skilled labor, right? And you're like, well, wait a second. What exactly is the skill here, you know?
Yes.
So for me, you know, I don't know. I've always thought that, you know, you just gotta think about what you can bring to the table. And, you know, I don't know. That was kind of a tangent, but yeah.
Well, it's not at all because basically, so I have a young man that works here. He's not an intern, so to speak. He ties the ropes.
Yeah.
He's a rope tire. He wants to own his own business. And I told him, I said, you need to find a problem and you need to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And then people pay for that, you know? And I have conversations with people. People call me all the time about marketing or branding or anything. And the biggest thing I hear, or the advice that I offer people and what they're not willing to do is quite simply the work. Yeah. If you're willing to do the work, it is easy.
Yeah.
Like the making of the money is not the hard part. The freaking work to get there is the hard part.
So
and yeah, 100%. So like Richard Boatwright, he has an online educational site called B1 Horsemanship. And, you know, he started that after we started 310 EDU and all that. He would call and we would talk about it. And me and Richard have had hundreds of conversations like this over the years. And it's quite simply, you have to post every day. You have to make a video every day. You have to grow your business. I mean, that's what it is. And so it's like, so my buddy Daryl called me at the beginning of the year, and I've talked about that in the podcast a bunch. And he's been a YouTube guy for a ministry for 4 years now, I think. And he calls me. He's like, man, I really want to work on my own. And I'm like, okay, cool. What do you want to do? He was like, well, the only thing I'm really, really good at is growing YouTube channels. And I said, okay, well, how much are you going to charge? And he's like, well, I don't know. And I was like, well, do it for me for free for 6 months and let's see how much you're worth, you know?
Yeah.
He doubled my YouTube numbers in the first 28 days from the entire year last year.
Wow.
The entire year, dude. I was like, I don't know if I don't think I can afford you, man. Like, you might have to stop working with me. But he started his own deal now, and he's got it going. He's got it going. He's got some clients, you know, he's kind of out there hunting people. And, but that's all it takes.
Yeah.
All it takes is finding someone's problem and having a good solution for it. So, like, marketing ropes online is something that did not exist. No one did that until we started doing it. And honestly, like, you just need to showcase the product in its normal environment. Like, you get around people who are handy with them, let them use them. Yeah. And they need to be like-minded enough, which was a hard thing to find in the beginning, like-minded enough to let you film it, because it's a pretty, some stuff don't need to be out there. And you know just as well as I do. Yeah, and then they had to trust us enough to know that we're not going to make them look like a dink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you know as well as I do, any horse that you get on, especially that needs some tuning, can make you look like a fool, can make you look like you don't know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Good horse makes anybody look good. That's the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so we just always tried to maintain the integrity of the calf and maintain the integrity of the horse, because every horse has a bad moment. And you don't show those because it's not worth showing unless it's educational. So like the 310 EDU stuff, we do show that. Yeah. But when you're talking about YouTube content, you don't have a guy on there in a bad spot, because every single one of us has been there. You know what I mean?
And then you're going to get 10,000 trolls saying, I told you so.
Bro, the keyboard warriors. I can't stand them, dude. I'm not kidding.
My wife, I swear, she's the most hardcore woman I've ever known. Like, she would fight every single keyboard warrior. I mean, to the end of the earth, every single one. She'd reply to 500 comments. And I told her, so she doesn't, right? She doesn't do that. But she tells me, we get all these comments, you know, random DMs, whatever. Everybody gets them that posts a lot, right? And
100%.
I'm like, no, it's not worth it. You know, it's like, all you're going to do when you reply is just egg them on, and then you're going to start this whole freaking feed. Everyone's going to read it. Everyone's going to chime in. It's just bad breeds bad, you know? So the more power you give to that, I think, you know, the more you're egging it on to happen on your videos. So I just don't reply to it.
We used to go to battle, dude. And like now I just like, I don't know if you've seen any of the 310 React videos, but we had this video of this freaking guy. He's on this horse at a Brandon that's never drug calves. The horse bucks. He falls off. It's great. It's good fun. It's good family fun. Everybody's watching. Nobody even moved, really. They're all just like, well, the horse is bucking. He was in the great state of Texas. You know, it was fantastic. All these people on, you know, these people jump on and they're like, oh, he's spurring the shit out of them. I got in that video and I was like, I got a video off YouTube of Ryder Wright. I'm talking just raking one. I mean, putting it to him. And I was like, this is spurring. This is not spurring. This is spurring. This is not spurring. Because it's like, dude, man, if you've ever done it, I mean, I've fallen off at Brandon's. My horse farts funny and I'm falling off. I'm not even kidding. I can't ride one bucking for nothing. But it's just these people, man, they don't know. And if you offer some level of grace of like, you make fun of it and all the things and just go, it's okay that you don't know. It's okay that you've never actually loped your horse. You know what I mean? Like, you can't tell me what I'm doing is wrong or abuse or whatever. And I'm over here like, bro, I'm in a rope halter. Like, I ain't never abused anything. You know what I mean? Like, what the heck? He could pull me all over the place if he wanted to. You know, the fact is that he doesn't want to. And that's what... That's what you're hunting, you know? But I don't know, man. It's funny. So let's talk a little bit about your horsemanship philosophy. So let's get into that. Like, what do you like in a horse? What are you hunting for?
No, let's talk about something different. I'm just kidding, Dalton.
No. No, we're not going there.
Yeah, I didn't come to talk horses. There's obviously a lot that goes into it, as you know.
Oh, yeah, no.
But yeah, so it depends. so like if I'm going to look for a horse for myself, which I very rarely do, um, I'm gonna first off, like if I'm picking from 100 horses or 50 head or something, I'm gonna look for conformation right out of the gate, right? So how many times does a pastern fit into the cannon bone, right? That ratio is very important to me, right? Because you're gonna over leverage basically your fulcrum points in the legs, right? So if the long and short pastern are too long, right, it might be a really, really comfortable ride, but that horse is probably not going to be sound later in life, right? Because they're using the shocks of that car super, super hard, right? So I want something that's not too upright, not too relaxed in angle, right? So your HPA, hoof pastern angle, right? I don't want that horse sinking all the time, right? That goes back to the long, short pasterns. I want, obviously somewhat of a flat horse. So if I had to pick, right, if you're talking top line, so the withers to the top of the butt, I don't want something that's downhill, ideally flat. But if I had to take either one, I would take uphill, meaning the withers are higher than the butt. So those are big things, right? Straight legs, obviously. Cow-hocked, right? Or sickle-hocked, people call it. A lot of people think that that is a conformational, deformity. I'll just use that word, or it's something that's less than ideal. I would say that a lot of people are unaware that that was actually a breeding thing with AQHA. There was a case study done, in fact, about it, talking about how draft horses, right? Draft horses that walk straight with their hind legs, track straight, could actually drive and pull less than a draft horse that corkscrewed like this when they drove. So we bred that into AQHA, right? We asked our horses to drive off the hind, so we tried to breed them cow-hocked or sickle-hocked like that. And cow-hocked is just where that hock rotates in and that hoof rotates out. So yeah, and this goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, right? You've got to understand, at least as far as I'm concerned, I do my best to understand all of this, because all this goes into how good you can throw a rope, right? Because when you're on that horse, if you don't understand, well, maybe I've got my horse positioned badly, or maybe, this is wrong, or it's how my horse is built, or whatever. All this goes into how well you can get that horse positioned to throw whatever shot you're trying to throw.
Do you teach this stuff in your courses?
Yeah, totally do. Yeah,
because that's cool. Like, this is way above my pay grade here. Like what you were just talking about, I was like, woo, boy, I just know one that's got a big butt. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's cool, dude. I'm gonna go subscribe. That's freaking awesome. Like, that's good information. That's really neat.
So I don't have videos on this on the subscriber thing, to be clear, on Facebook yet. We just started that subscriber deal, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago. But on a side note, man, you guys have been inspiring me to do YouTube for so long, and I haven't.
You don't have a YouTube?
No, I've got
bro.
I've got like 5 or 10 videos or something like that. I mean, barely any, and it's just random stuff from Instagram or Facebook that I've posted on it. Yeah. But I've wanted to do it for a long time because I'm missing out on a lot, right?
Yes.
So what I am finally doing is I'm starting to put some videos on YouTube now, and then I'm just going to take the plunge. I'm really cheap. I don't like spending money, right? We work hard for our money. I don't want to piss it away, but I'm going to take the plunge and buy a GoPro.
Do it.
Because, dude,
I just bought one this week.
Your guys' videos, it's just such a cool perspective, Yeah. Just I mean, like, I watched one of your podcasts, and I think you said your dad, the first time that he put the GoPro on, he's like, it's like you're in the saddle with me, right?
Yes.
And that's, I think I would hope at least a lot of the people that follow us would like to see that angle too, and see how we do things, because part of the issue for the content we create is that obviously we have 2 kids and 2 young kids right now. So who films, right? And what it ends up happening is I have to self-film stuff. So almost everything you see on YouTube or Instagram is me setting up a tripod and trying to keep the horse, me roping another horse, or me roping a cow, or me just working a horse in frame without anything moving. So it's
impossible.
It's impossible. A challenge. Yeah, and I could, it'd be a lot more I think, fun for people to watch also us doing stuff outside, right? And that GoPro just allows me to not be like, hey, wife, let's find someone to watch the kids and go,
Yes.
So yes, I'm going down the YouTube route thanks to you guys.
Do it. Do it, dude. It's worth it. It's worth it. We started this new channel where we're hosting the podcast, and I'm posting kind of more stuff like you're posting on there. And I did not want to do it. I was like, dude, I don't want to do another one. And Daryl was like, you have to do it. Just freaking do it. I was like, okay, whatever. So now I'm posting
you said that because you're paying him now.
Yeah, right. I mean exactly. He's a slave driver, but it's good, man. YouTube is very similar to Facebook and Instagram. It just takes a lot of work, but the biggest thing is that you can get paid on it pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you can get monetized pretty quick, especially with the kind of information that, like, just your 5-minute description of what you're looking for in a horse.
Yeah.
That's clickbait, buddy. Like, these people don't know what they're looking for like that. You know what I mean? But I was more.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let me finish the deal about the horse, because that's like the intro level of, if I'm looking at, let's say, 50 head of horses or colts. And by the way, I don't ride. I mean, all I ride is mares. So I don't own one gelding. I've never owned a gelding in my life. And I saw on your guys' podcast, your dad is the same way.
100%.
Yeah, the one difference, I'll say, tangent, but it's worth it, kind of. One difference between a gelding and a mare, I will say, in my experience, is that you could be kind of, I'm going to get freaking ridiculed for this, but this is just my opinion. A gelding, you can get away with a little bit of less than ideal horsemanship for a longer period of time. So
that's 100% true for anybody that wants to jump in them comments. Facts. You cut the heart out of a gelding, old son.
Yeah,
period.
For sure. A mare, right? So a gelding may just like blow up one day and pitch you off, and you're like, where the hell did that come from, right? And maybe it was building, for the past 3 days you're riding them. A mare, the second you do something wrong, your ass is going to be pounded into the dirt. I mean, or, if they blow up, right? I just believe that they have like you said, they have a heck of a lot more heart. They try a heck of a lot harder. They're much more honest animals. And, that's my 2 cents on mares.
Those are all facts.
Yeah, I love them. But case in point, right? So ideally, a filly, if I'm picking a young horse. And if we step away from the conformational stuff, and this is debatable, right? All the old cowboys used to say that, they like a horse that fights a little bit, right? That's got a lot of heart when they're starting them. I do agree with that to some degree, but I more so believe that I need to find a good student, right? So when I'm looking for a horse, I'm looking for a horse that, and every horse trainer out there is probably going to say this, but I've got a little bit more underneath it. I want a horse that has a high level of curiosity. And the reason I say that is because to make a good bridle horse, I was showing one of my interns the other day. I mean, I don't teach them things, and that sounds ridiculous, but I don't teach them my leg means this and a rein means this. And I don't teach them these tricks that they associate A to B. I teach them principles that transfer and translate across their entire life. So a good example of that is, if I touch you anywhere, you need to move away from it, right? Anywhere. And the way I test it is, if I've never touched a horse somewhere, can they problem solve the first time and move away from where I touch them? The importance of that is they need to be very, very relaxed to process it, right? So if a horse is amped up or a little more reactive or whatever, and that's okay, right, to some degree, because the longer they've lived outside, the more reactive they're going to be, because they've had to defend themselves, right? They've had to listen to their instincts. But I want a horse younger, right? Who's been following the herd, who's more pliable, and a little bit curious, right? Doesn't know that the lion can jump out of the tree and kill him yet. Totally, right? If I can find that horse and I can keep them relaxed, right? And develop that thinking side of their brain, right? So horses have four sides. You know this, right? There's right brain, left brain, upper and lower, right? I'm going to get this wrong. I believe upper brain is the processing and lower brain is the crocodile brain. So what I mean by that is that might be reversed, but what I mean by that is the crocodile brain only reacts. So crocodiles don't have the ability to process information and make decisions. They only have the ability when a bird lands on their tail, they bite, right? It is all reaction. So horses have reaction and they have processing, obviously. I want a horse that has not developed, because it totally is a use it or lose it principle with horses. If you develop the reactionary side of a horse's brain, it gets bigger and the processing side atrophies actually. So for me, I want a horse that doesn't have that atrophy happening already. I want a horse that it hopefully is a little bit more balanced, that I can develop that processing side. You always can change this, right, throughout a horse's life, but younger, just like us, the more you develop it early, the more it's going to stick and the more it's going to continuously go in that direction. So I want a horse that's a little bit curious and in some way that I can work with to help develop that relaxation in him, because a lot of these higher level maneuvers, right? I mean, what you guys do, running one down the pasture, your horse needs to be relaxed for that, right? I mean, they can't be freaking losing their mind.
You can tell when they aren't.
Yeah, and the second you add energy to that, that's the hard thing, right? Because if they're already up here and then you ask them to do something and then they go up here, it's like, whoa, way too much, right?
Yes.
I need a horse to be level, even keel all the time. And when I add energy, they go exactly where I'm asking. And that goes back to that principle of me building that processing side of their brain and me being able to use these principles, not teaching them, this means back up and then you just spin or whatever, right? I need you to understand that when I create some type of shape on you, that you follow that shape, right? You follow the movements that we're trying to produce rather than me teaching you these tricks that A equals B. And that goes back to me saying, if I touch you anywhere, if you understand that principle, right, I should be able to touch you anywhere on your body and you move away into the space I'm creating for that, right? So I can touch, I've got a yearling right now, or a 1.5-year-old, that I've had her for 6 months, maybe 8 months, and I can touch her anywhere on her body that she's never been touched and she'll move in the opposite direction. So I could touch the back of her leg and she'll move it forward. I could touch her chest and she'll move back. I could touch her pole and she'll move her head down. You know what I mean? And when you have that principle, you don't need to teach them all this stuff. You just get on and create shapes with your body and you can move that horse any way you need to. Does that make sense?
100%. 100%.
You guys are, I mean, I'm just giving everybody my kind of how I do things, but you guys get it freaking done, proof's in the pudding, but this is just coming from, the horse trainer.
No. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly our thought process on it as well, is the principles. Yeah. So, whether it's pressure and release or knowing what happens before what happens, or there's all these little sayings that are said while we're standing around the round pen or out working horses that are, it's like, I would say this for everybody listening is honestly my biggest challenge in the cowboying world is like mechanical things are not a problem for me. That's why manipulating a rope has always come very natural. Like I can watch somebody throw a rope and shot and immediately know the mechanical issues within the roping shot. My horsemanship has always struggled, even to this day, because these principles are super freaking abstract, man. Yeah. They're like and I would say that like my dad was born to be a horseman. Like he communicates with horses better than he does people for the most part, which is why he can get on those horses and doctor bridle us and communicate with them in a way that is just very unique. And I can get on that same exact horse and it's not the same. And we ride very similarly. Like he taught me everything I know about that, but my brain has always had a hard time. Like the easy ones, like pressure and release to me is kind of what you're talking about. It's like you know, if I reach over there and I'm standing on the ground and I ask one to disengage their hindquarter and I, bend their face a little bit and ask them to disengage their hindquarter, like it's pretty easy for one, like to understand that principle from the beginning. But when you're talking about like feeling their feet underneath you, like which foot is on the ground and which foot is not, this is another level of understanding of the horse mechanics and like what you need to be paying attention to, when to ask the horse to properly step over on the front end or disengage their hindquarter. It's like, and my dad will be sitting up there and he's like, yeah, so when you ask him to disengage, you just, and he taught me this years ago, but his timing and what you're talking about here is a really high level of communication with that animal. Totally. And it starts from the second you put a halter on their face as a colt.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
You're teaching them the line of communication that you're going to have when you step on.
Have the rest of their life. Yep.
For sure. And then keeping one out of trouble is keeping them in the right frame of mind. Is a lifelong journey, and it has been for me. Yeah, it has been for me.
I would say the main difference between you guys and what I do is you guys just point blank cowboy way more than I do. I train horses for a living. I definitely rope every day. But do I rope cattle every day? No, maybe once a week. But you guys do it all the time. I would say that, for me, when I get on a horse, I have the time, I have the luxury because of what I do, that I hit certain things in my horsemanship and I'm like, what else can I work on? Right. I'm always thinking about that. So like you talked about footfall, right? I work on that all the time, right? I think about constantly, how can I improve? Right. You've got to go down those avenues to become better at anything, right? Just like roping. If you don't keep pushing yourself to the next level and you start saying, I'm good enough, right? I'm okay right here. I feel good. And that's okay to do, right? I mean, if that's all your life journey's been about, and, that's as far as, you want your drive to take you and you're happy, being happy is being happy. So, but for me, just like you guys, it seems like I always want to propel myself to keep climbing and keep growing, because life gets boring if you don't do that, right? I always
100%.
I need something to strive for. And that's why making good horses is so addicting, because, every horse trainer in the bridle horse world says this. They're like, oh, it's never over, right? Your horse is never finished. And that's true to some degree. But it's not really the horse is never finished. It's that you're never finished, right?
That's the point.
Yeah.
That to me, because dude, I've been around some that are as close to finished as you're going to get. And the fact of the matter is that the horses are like guitars. Like you play them real hard, you put them up, you're going to tune it before you get back on. So all of them are going to need a little reconnection when you get back on. That's just part of working with a live animal. But dang it, dude, the problem is us. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
for sure.
I think, especially me.
I totally agree. I mean, if you truly think about it, I reflect on a lot of the horses I've started, and I've got a good amount I've got to get going here in the next month or two, but I reflect on a lot of the ones I've started in the past, and I always think about how much better they would have been now or last year or the year before, you know what I mean? And I think it's cool to kind of consider, can you get to the point where you can start a horse and them ride almost as if they're a 7 or 8 year old horse on the first or second ride, right? Because if you present your body well enough, there's no reason that shouldn't happen, right? I mean, how good can you be at communicating with a horse, right? And keep pushing yourself and make those questions as clear as possible. Because I would say the main difference between how I do things and a lot of guys out there is that, one, I don't desensitize horses. I don't, shoot freaking fireworks off their back. I don't do drills. I don't make them move their feet like all the online guys do. I mean, I just go out there and spend time with a horse. And in my mind, I've got principles that I'm trying to instill throughout their life. And I have nothing but time, right? I mean, all I do is work horses all day and rope. And obviously spend time with my family, but but you know, I just kind of take my time and I think about when I get on this horse, what do I want to have, right? You know, what principles do they need to have throughout their life? And I just add like a grain of salt every day. And when I say every day, I mean I don't put a young horse in a round pen probably until they're like if they're, you know, born here or born somewhere that's not on a big ranch and you need to rope them to halter them. I would say I put them in a round pen at maybe 2 years old is the first time. I don't start horses until they're 3 or 4, just because of bone maturity, growth plate stuff, blah, blah, blah. But I've got 3 or 4 years to make them pretty good before we put a ride on. So there's no time frame on that. And you can create a horse that has total relaxation. And when you have that, they're listening, right? The thing that gets guys in trouble when they start horses isn't that, you know, the horse is freaking fired up and, you know, a bronc or whatever, right? It's that the horse isn't balanced, right? Mentally or physically. And what I mean by that is, you know, a lot of guys, when they swing that leg over, you know that if a horse is a little fresh or, you know, maybe a little green, you swing that leg over and you can see them get tight, right? Or they just blow up or whatever. So when you start a horse, you know, obviously that balance, right? Mentally is very important. We talk about that. Every horse trainer talks about that, right? Right brain versus left brain. But I would say that, you know, if you have 3 or 4 years to build that balance in a horse, right? Not round petting, right? Just think about sometimes petting a horse on the left side of them and petting them on the right side of them, right? That triggers that left brain, right brain. So as stupid as it sounds, if you just pet a horse on the left side and then walk around to the right side and did that 5 times once a week, as a yearling until they're 2 years old, you're going to have a damn balanced horse that when you throw a loop off the left side of your horse, right, and they see that off the right eye, maybe they don't blow up, right? Or maybe they don't get tight at all or whatever. My point is, you don't need to make this giant rushed, you know, I got to go to work on a horse. And there are horses and guys that need to do that. So I'm not saying anything about that. But your job is a hell of a lot easier if you just take the time, right? Use the horses you have. Get a young horse, spend the time over a few years when you're not in a rush and make a nice one, right? Your job's going to be a heck of a lot easier and your horse is going to be willing to do the job and a lot better at it.
Well, and if you want to have a miserable day, take a horse that isn't prepared.
Yeah, for sure.
That's terrible. And I say to people all the time, like, doctor and yearlings ain't no horse training gig. I mean, really, like you can teach one a lot doing it, and they have to learn at some point. There's a guy here that I'm working with to try to get a little lease ground going where we can precondition some calves, and he doesn't know anything about it. He's just likes land. So he's getting me the land. So, and it'll be his land. I'm just going to lease the land. So, and I was telling him, I was like, you know, there's always this real puckered moment with a horse that you've ridden a lot, but you've never dumped it on a 750-pound yearling.
Yeah.
And you never quite know what's about to happen. And you got to be prepared. You know, there's not a time I've roped the first time off of a horse and not taken quite a deep seat. And most of them do great, you know, if they're prepared. If they're ready, if you've drugged some logs, if they felt some weight. But the first time that yearling, you dump it on that sucker and he crosses eyes, you're like, yeah, buddy, here we go. Let's see what we really got going on here, you know? And it's fun unless it goes really bad. Then you're hunting your rope and trying to put everything back together. But dude, I totally agree.
Most of the people that watch that know exactly what we're talking about right now.
There is no question. There's no question. And what's funny is we took 2 3-year-olds to Wyoming that this guy sent with us. And I roped the first yearling off of both of them, and they both took it like a champ. But out there, I'll say this: And you talked about getting roasted earlier for saying something. I'm going to get roasted for this. I freaking hate loping circles in an arena. I hate it. Yeah, I like to have 20 miles to trot and then get something done. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty easy. And I really think in a lot of situations, it's far easier to make a really nice horse when you got a lot of miles. I mean,
of course it always is. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So cowboying, if you kind of know what you got going on or know what you're doing, you can get a lot done in that 20 miles before you ever got to rope something and not get yourself in a pickle, you know? And I appreciate those miles because Doctor and Yearlings in Alabama versus Wyoming, I mean, you get in the trailer, you drive a quarter of a mile to the gate, you get off the trailer, walk into the pasture, and the cow's standing right there. Like, so if you're going to get bucked off, it's just going to happen in the morning, you know? But in Wyoming, it was super awesome because it was like you get dumped off at the gate and then you got to trot forever to find one. And I had a horse out there, dude. We still got him. He's the only gelding we've ever kept. And it's like he never got cut. Anyway, he's a total dink. And this horse here took miles and miles and miles and miles to get right. He's a super hybrid cutting horse, just a natural born skeptic. He tolerates zero BS. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're wrong, he punishes you. And he made me a lot better, like a lot better. He bucks me off at freaking Ropings and Brandons and Dr. Neerlands with guys. And I got more video of me hitting the ground on this silly horse than any other horse. But in Wyoming, he would be real fresh. We'd trot for forever. And then when we found one, he was just cool with it. I mean, he was just like, which we didn't start him. That was a thing. Yeah. But anyway, he changed my horsemanship completely. Like he taught me how to be disciplined, how to be self-disciplined, and how to not get buffaloed. Like, because he'll buffalo you pretty good. You know, he'll kind of grab his butt all the time or whatever. And once he knows that you know, hey man, you're just BSing me, right? I know you're BSing me. And once he knows you know, he never does it again. He's just like, oh, okay, well, that's not going to work, you know.
I'm telling you, man, I hate horses like that. I'm not a fan of that. That's where the whole, you know, it sounds like you guys aren't either.
No, there was many days. If I wouldn't have been in Wyoming and had to walk 25 miles back, I'd have just left him out there. You know what I mean? It's like, you can freaking live out here, buddy.
I'll tell you that the whole outside thing, right? I mean, that 100%, you can get a lot done on a horse like that. You get fundamentals down in the arena, and then you go right outside for a year or two, and then go back to the arena for a month or two, then go back outside. That's how I do it, at least. I do a ton of schooling outside. But you know, if you're not teaching a horse, at least those fundamentals in the arena, I mean, they definitely need that because it's just going to be more controlled, right? You know, the way I think about it is when we're in the arena, I'm putting the pieces I need to go get stuff done outside, right? And we don't live on a big place. We live on a fairly small place, but I have everything I possibly need to make a good horse here. And that's the one thing, you know, I think is important, right? And like you were saying that, you know, you can get a lot more done outside than you can inside. And I think the reason a lot of people struggle with that is because they ride in an arena for freaking, you know, 5 years. And then they're like, why is my horse bad outside? Or why can't I go and do whatever? I
do need to clarify it. Yeah. Only if they have the foundation that you're talking about.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Like you have to have the line of communication. If you don't, like, I don't want to go ride a horse outside that doesn't have it. It sucks.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the worst job ever. And it's the funnest job ever if they do have what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's it barely, and the thing is, right, I mean, we tell ourselves in the horse world that we can empathize with a horse, right? That, oh no, I know how, imagine how that feels. Oh, they don't want to get into a trailer because of X, Y, and Z. Or, oh, they don't, right? Good horse trainers always talk about this. They're like, you got to see it from a horse's perspective. And I will say 99% of horse trainers I've run into truly have a hard time really empathizing with a horse, right? Because it is really crazy to process if you think about it, on one side of the coin, we're like, these animals are livestock, right? They don't need X, Y, and Z. They're tough suckers. And then the other side of the coin, we're like, they're so sensitive. They can hear your heartbeat from 5 feet away. You know what I mean? It's like, so which one is it, right?
Yeah.
Are we going to treat them like a, whatever, like some freaking piece of meat, or are we going to treat them like, the Messiah, right?
Yeah.
How are we handling these animals? And I will tell you, there's a lot of interesting data. Like I said in the beginning, I am like a horse nerd, right? And maybe not even just horses. I am horsemanship, stockmanship nerd. I mean, everything that goes into being a cowboy is stuff that I'm interested in. So I, try and learn as much as I can to improve. And one thing I will say is there's been a lot of studies on horses and like the sensitivity, right? So, 10, 15 years ago, right, there was something done about elephants. And, this was a big deal, right? And don't quote me on this. My time frame might be off five or so years, but somewhere around that time frame, there was a study done on elephants, and they're like, we think elephants have receptors in the bottom pad of their foot where they can feel vibrations and feel animals moving, right? Now we're like, duh, everyone knows this, right? We know that elephants can feel things coming. In the horse world, right after that was done, they're like, oh my gosh, maybe the Brumbies in Australia, maybe they can feel vibrations in their frog, right? And now we're like, yes, everyone knows this, right?
Of course.
But it's interesting to consider how complex a horse actually is, right? So like the frog totally can feel vibrations just like an elephant. They have a thermodynamic ridge that runs down their back, right? So blanketing horses, we obviously know if you're a horseman that, works outside or lives outside, if you're cowboy, you're not blanketing your horses, right? Obviously the dead airspace makes a big difference on that, and that ridge, right? That runs down their top line. So cold air literally runs down it and off their butt. All these little tiny things that make horses so complex. There was a case study done about the Vietnam War, in fact. And long story short, you can look this up and fact check this, but the strokes of this are pretty accurate. I looked at this a long time ago, but something along the lines of they had a special ops unit that was being tested during the Vietnam War through the U.S. government. And they had Native Americans in it. And these guys, some type of special ops deal, whatever. You guys can look it up if you're watching. And they found that these guys were testing, I guess, like scoring through the roof, right? These guys were doing great. They could sneak up on anything. Long story short. Yeah, Native Americans. Yep.
Huh.
And they put these Indians and implemented them during the Vietnam War, right? They're like, these guys are doing killer. So they implemented them. These guys failed terribly, right? Nobody could figure it out. 20 some years later, somebody did a case study on it. And this is what I read. And it was something along the lines of the leading indicator. The only variable they could find that made a difference in their performance was from the testing to when they implemented them was then they shaved their head or cut their hair. And that's interesting to consider because of that proprioception, right? So proprioception would be like feeling something before it touches you, like a cat in its whiskers. So the proprioception that these guys had somehow through their hair. And we do know that there is some data that supports that, right? So like women have some type of sense of where the wind's coming from, right? If it's slow winds, obviously high winds, anybody knows, but they can feel that, right? We can feel direction, right? Northeast, southwest, more intuitively. Things of that nature, we do know there have been some studies on it that have some sort of conclusive data that shows that hair does have an impact on that. So if you take that to horses, the proprioception, their whole body, one, is covered in it, and then their mane and their tail. So how much can a horse truly feel if people, right, it's somehow the data suggests that it helps us. How much does it help a horse in what they sense, right? So can can we really comprehend how much sensitivity a horse has? And if we can, how can we use that to help us teach them? I sound like a freaking witch doctor right now, but I'm telling you, you can look it up. And this is just me. I'm just a weirdo, dude. I contemplate how to be better. I constantly look at things about how to improve. I don't know. I think it's interesting to think about how complex these animals actually are, that, we sell them short to some degree. And yes, they definitely are livestock. But when you have a good one and you've brought out all of that incredible sensitivity in them, and the truth of the matter is we don't really understand how complex a horse is. There's not a lot of data on it, especially in the Western world. In the English dressage racing world, there's tons of data on biomechanics of a horse, not a lot done on the sensitivity, mental capacity, stuff of that nature. So for us to say every day, oh, they're tough animals or whatever, that, they don't need this. I go through phases, man. Some days I'm like, or some years I'm like, man, they're tough suckers. I ain't worried about it, right? Other years I'm like, this animal may have more intelligence than me. They may have,
there's no question.
I mean, just the level of complexity to them, and they humble me just like it sounds like they do to you guys. They humble me every day at how great they can be at something and how human they can be at things. I mean, when you have a good horse, and I'm sure all the guys watching this can relate to this. When you've got a good one, I mean, it's like there's nothing else out there. I mean, that's it.
No question.
No
question. And what's funny is that, like, the hard one I was talking about earlier is a good one. Yeah. But that sucker was hard. He was rough. And, to the point of, like, as the old saying goes, he'll be as much horse as you are cowboy. Yeah. I should get that tattooed on me somewhere, because the fact is that's true. And if you're looking at your horse, and this goes for fatherhood, this goes for marriage, this goes for your relationship with really anything on earth. If you're looking at that horse and expecting him to be better and not looking at yourself, you're wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're looking at your wife and saying you're a crappy wife and not looking in the mirror, you're wrong. You're wrong. Like, you need to anyone who wants to be an expert in this field needs to have the same mentality you have as far as trying to be better, right? Trying to be better at things. And I'm my journey to horsemanship was vastly different than most people's, right? Like, I rode as a kid or whatever, but when I started cowboying, that was it, man. It was doing the job. It was like, and so I for sure look at my horses as livestock, or did back in the days. 'Cause it was like, bro, I'm here to work. You got to come to work, and we both got to do this job together. And I'm going to be as good as I can be, but you got to be good too, and, that's been shaped over the years, especially as I had kids. Like, my appreciation for Blaze letting Wiley dink around on her is that horse on TikTok. People are like, that horse is worth $1 million. And she damn sure is. The one you can throw a 3-year-old on, a 4-year-old on, and give them a rope and let them throw it at stuff. Like, come on. I wouldn't tolerate that, and like, there's other horses in the string that I wouldn't even let him walk near. Like, don't even go over there. But he can crawl under her and all the things. And so it's just that's been one of our goals with the videos over the years, is to do our best to show our appreciation for how incredible those animals. I hands down, everybody talks about a damn dolphin. Horses are the smartest animals on earth. Dolphins, get out of here, dude. Get out of here. You show me another prey animal on earth that lets a predator climb on their back and go get another prey animal.
Oh, I know.
Get out of here with that dolphin. It's a predator, dude. Like, at any point, it could eat you and drown you. Sure, they're okay with you riding their fin or whatever. Okay. Get out of here, bro. Get out of here. That horse thinks you're going to freaking eat it day one, dude. They're like, this guy's going to eat me, and you got to prove that you're not. It's crazy. These dolphin people. We did go to a dolphin show recently. It was pretty impressive. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my gosh.
it wasn't nothing close to a 310 video. They can get out of here with freaking dolphins, dude. Plus, you know how much money it costs to keep a dolphin? Get out of here. It's not even worth it. It's not even worth it. Just let them swim free, you know? Save the dolphins. Oh, man, that's awesome. All right, Michael. Well, tell the people where they can find you. What's your freaking YouTube channel? Plug it here first. Let's go. Get the YouTube channel out. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, how do they find you?
Yeah, good deal. Well, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Buck and K Horsemanship. Like I said, we're going to get that YouTube going. You know, we just started posting a few videos on it, but we're going to get serious about it here. And yeah, Buck and K Horsemanship. We do have a website too. You guys can check that out. We take outside horses. We make bridle horses as well. We'll start them from scratch, train them for several years. And, you know, hopefully when they get to a phase after the two rein, hopefully straight up, or in that two rein phase, we'll typically find a good place for them. So we'll do a lot of that if anybody's interested. And we're located in Colorado. Like I said, a website, and then Facebook, we have that subscription deal. You know, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on YouTube, you know, roping tutorials, horsemanship, colt starting stuff. And then, you know, just some higher level stuff in the arena with bridle horses is going to be involved also. But you know, I will say, I'm just grateful to be invited to do this. So thank you, Dalton. You guys have been something that you know, has always inspired me. Just because, you know, like I said, you know, I want to be as well-rounded of a horseman as a cowboy as I possibly can. And you know, your videos, people talk a lot of crap on social media, but it's great to see how people and companies you respect do things. And it's cool to kind of have a community where everyone's sharing what they do. So I really appreciate that. 310 ropes are pretty much all I throw. So
that's awesome.
Those polys, I will say, you talk about the turnovers, man. Those polys are so fun to throw those big turnovers with.
Agreed. Agreed.
But yeah, so that's, you guys can find me, Buck and K Horsemanship, on all those platforms. And yeah, I really appreciate you for having me on, Dalton. So thank you very much.
Oh man, thanks for coming on, and we will definitely keep in touch. And I'm gonna go subscribe to your deal so I can learn next time I go buy a horse what to get. So but yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you sharing your life with us. And everybody go follow him. We'll see you in the next video.